Hi, everybody, and welcome back to We Know Scripted TV, where today we know Squid Game Season 2, Episode 2. It is our first podcast under this new leadership covering Squid Game in episodic form with daily podcasts of Season 2, with Squid Game making its highly anticipated return the day after Christmas. Of course, I am joined by someone who will be my co pilot this entire time, someone who I would certainly try to dress up as for Halloween, but not even as a costume, but just because you are so fashionable, my man. It is Chappell.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. No, that was great. That was great. Look, I'm happy to be your co-pilot here, especially because this is nothing but Netflix too. We know scripted TV, nothing but Netflix. We're bringing you Squid Game coverage, all, post Christmas, I guess. And so, yeah, let's get into it. We got 5 more days of this after we're doing daily Squid Game. This
On
is
the
kind of my
second
bag.
day of Squid Game.
Yes, we might actually keep that going. Yeah. What did your true love give to you on the second day of
Yeah,
Squid
so I
Game?
guess this one was what? Well, I would say two severed heads, but that was the first episode.
That was the first
You know what?
episode.
Actually, I
Yeah.
would say, what was it? Two lollipops. I think that's the prize that these costume characters were giving away to these poor sick children in the parade.
Yeah, 2 lollipops is good with me. Yeah, we got some things to talk about, but I'm very happy to be back talking about Squid Game with you.
Yeah, so of course, if you missed it, Chappelle and I, along with Rob Cesternino, got together to cover the premiere of Squid Game Season 2, which has dropped in its entirety on Netflix. 7 episodes. We are going one episode at a time. We are not going to spoil anything that happens past episode 2. Chappelle and I have not watched past episode 2, so any speculation is done completely with an open mind, or to be immediately proven wrong or right as of the next episode. And Rob Cesternino ends up losing rock, paper, scissors -1. And so we are -1 today. But Chappelle, much like Woosok vowed early in this episode, we're doing it for the boss. We're carrying on in Rob's stead here as we talk about the team up that we were hoping would happen sooner rather than later, even starting as far back, Chappelle, from your perspective, as the first season when you covered it. It finally happened, albeit maybe for like a short amount of time. It seems like our boy Gi-hun is off entering the Squid Game again. What was your thought about finally getting to hit this story beat?
I think it was time, right? We spent the whole first episode thinking, well, eventually he's got to get back in there because why would we even call this Squid Game if we never get back to the Squid Game? So it was going to happen, but we finally got it. After years of searching, Gi-hun has found his way to the Squid Game, and Junho is probably not too far behind. He's also trying to get in there to save his brother or to kill his brother. I haven't really quite figured out. I know he wants to get to his brother, but what does he
Mm-hmm.
want to do to his brother once he gets there?
Do you think he wants his kidney back? It gets mentioned again in this
Oh,
episode. It was mentioned in season 1 that like Junho was kind of looking for the guy with one kidney because that was his brother. Do you think maybe he's just like, all right, if you're gonna completely divorce yourself from the family, I'm taking back the organ that saved your life and killed so many other people in the process.
honestly, I respect it because how dare you? How dare you take my organ and then go off and do something maniacal like this? So yeah, I'm rooting for Juno. I was rooting for him throughout the entire episode.
Yeah, so again, it's really fun to see. I had sort of hoped this would be the case last time, that just given the way
Mhm.
everything was kind of focusing in on that hotel, how do you not pick up with Junho entering, running into Gi-hun for the first time? And look, there's still a little bit of coldness between the two of them, right? Before they can barely have a meet cute, here comes Woosok, the goon that ended up surviving the rock, paper, scissors -1 game, just knocking him out, but becoming the number one guy as they all decide to work together here, and a plan is hatched. And it helps, Chappelle, when you have basically a lifetime supply of unlimited cash, that you could do a lot of stuff. You could just do a little bit of your own home remodeling, bring in a Wendell and the Extreme Home Makeover team to just knock down a bunch of rooms to carve out a shooting gallery.
I did love the big stack of money. It reminded me of Breaking Bad, where they're
Yes.
like laying on top of it. That's exactly how I felt. And it's exactly what we needed to see to prove, that what we already knew is that Gil was telling the truth. I won all this money. I won all this money from the Squid Game, but it's blood money. It's blood money. I want to use it to take down the system, to tear this thing apart. So yeah, it was definitely what a Wooksock needed to see because he'd been doing this for years, just kind of under the premise of like, all right, I might get some money if it works. And he was getting paid, but now he's in on the mission too. And like, it's like, okay, it feels real now, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, Probably also felt real when he was gagged with a dog bone and forced to watch his
Yeah.
boss sacrifice himself via this maniacal game. But truly, the money is really what got him fully in. I, I'm almost like preemptively mourning Woo-sok, not because he's going to get killed, but because I feel like we're not going to see this guy again. He really felt like a 2-episode character, and once we left the mainland of Korea, we leave this guy behind.
Yeah, he was fun. He was fun, but I was like, all right, cool. Because I don't even think we really get his name until episode 2, right? It was like I was like, oh, random thug guy, but he was fun. He was. I thought like, okay, if we gotta find a new rootable character outside of these main 2 big guys, and I was like, all right, he's fine. But no, this is not his story, and so I knew he wasn't long for this show at all.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that might not have helped is that, suffice it to say, Squid Game is not a very funny show. And
No,
like this was like the most capital C comic character we have seen in the series so far. And look, maybe Netflix wanted them to go in a different direction. Studio notes of like, but can you make it a little lighter? Just lighten the mood a tad. And so maybe they decide to throw him a bone, quite literally, in the form of Woo-sok, but then promptly leave him behind, shocked into submission, wearing a green horse mask, passed out at a club.
he was dressed like BoJack. I was like, oh no, oh no.
Maybe that was the Netflix reference of like, can you get BoJack Horseman references in here?
I liked it. I liked it. He saw a lot though before this happened. Seeing him have to deal with, okay, there's this big stack of money. I understand we have a mission, but to see how far Gi-hun was on the mission, right? Where Gi-hun has gone into this hotel and like Shawshanked his way through the walls and created a gun range inside the hotel. That was crazy.
Yeah, not to mention he got Woo-sok to basically like hire out all the thugs. And of course, as we know, much like this hollowed out room, it all gets shot to sunshine because every time any player basically thinks they can make a move, the front man and the team behind the curtain is going to one up them, as we see here, as again, almost like it was premeditated. Yes, there was a card in the recruiter's pocket that said, meet at this club on Halloween night. Seems like Chappell, despite Halloween obviously being a much more westernized holiday, and I would say even more specific to the United States, as someone who is best friends with somebody from Australia, it really is just like an Amero-centric, odd tradition of dressing up in costumes. It seemed like some people were willing to participate if it meant a night out at the club.
Yeah, when they said October 31st, I said, oh, Halloween. And then they say, oh, yeah, of course, that's Halloween in America. I was like, oh, I didn't know we do that everywhere. And so to see that people were still in on it, everybody's dressing up. Well, not some people, or at least trying. Throwing on the horse mask was good enough. We just needed enough cover so that we can bring in these red jumpsuit guys and they can make this this kidnapping or whatever this is. And I do have questions about that card. It says, meet me at the club on Halloween. Bet.
Meet me at the club. It's going down.
It's going down. And I thought, well, the recruiter could have just gave him the card. Why did he go through with that game? Now he's dead. It's like that card was not for the recruiter. The recruiter had to know what the card said, right? Or was this planted on him?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And also, what if, Gi-hun did not get as lucky as he usually is with the, four-leaf clover born up his ass, where he ends up pulling the trigger and he dies. What does the recruiter do with the card? Does he just burn it there with no further instructions?
Calls in like, hey boss, I know you wanted to, we had this long plot to get him in, but I kind of got cocky with the with the Russian roulette.
Yeah, he took it down. He took it down to 2 chambers. Like he called me a dog. I'm sorry,
right.
man.
I had to do it. The integrity of the game was right there, so it worked out. But to me, it felt a little cute, because it's like coincidentally it worked out. But it's like if the larger plan at hand was for this to always happen, Gi-hun really is like the most lucky person on earth.
Yeah, truly. And maybe that's why he decides to enter back into the Squid Game. I mean, that is going to be one of the big centerpieces of this episode, is that obviously Gi-hun and friends will have a big plan where they're basically going to kind of use him as bait. And then he has put Chappell, at days or months, I should say, after taking out a tracker, he decides to put one back in. This time it's in the tooth. I mean, we know, as we saw from Junho's experience last season, that there's a pretty extensive strip search, maybe even cavity search, if we dare to go so far, when these players are being put into the games. Do you think they're going to look in the teeth here?
I mean, it's like, is it under the tooth? Because it wasn't just like, it's not like they put the tracker, like they attached it to a tooth, right? They took a fake tooth and
Yep.
implanted it. So I'm thinking, what are they gonna do, really? I mean, I guess they could put you through like one of those like tooth X-ray machines. You know, you go to the dentist and like bite this thing. You know,
Yeah,
I think
like
they could do
I
that.
mean, much like when Johnny Mac was able to tell the twins apart. Maybe they need to bring in like an in-house dentist to be like, I see that molar right there. That's a little different. Or do you have a microchip in that tooth?
Right, that incisor is looking a little sus. Might need to take that one out before you can join the Squid Game.
Yes, exactly. So maybe, they cast a doctor last time. I think they need to cast a dentist as well. I mean, I also don't know like who's taking care of the in-house medical care with some of these people as well. We'll get into, obviously, seems like we're going to be exploring even more of what it is to be a staff member at these things. But maybe Gi-hun's luck might run out if he happens to run adrift of a dentist out there.
Yeah, but I mean, look at all the luck he's had so far. He ends up at the club. He finds the red jumpsuit person in the chaos. You know, it's like, oh, it's so much going on. It's like a rave in here. It's like, but he still was able to find the guy, or maybe the guy wanted to be found. He follows, and then it's like, oh yeah, go get in the car. He gets in the car, and then yeah, it's like the front man is just waiting on him. He's got his little pig. I love this piggy bank. I do. I don't know why. It's menacing. It shoots like but it's great. I love it.
It's interesting because I feel like the symbols that are usually associated with Squid Game that kind of pervaded pop culture are like the shape masks, maybe even like the honeycomb cookie that's from one of the games. But like the piggy bank, obviously it is the big front and center thing that fills with this accumulating amount of cash. But yeah, I like the little like Charlie's Angels-esque speaker box. I mean, Inho was in front the entire time in front of this partition, so it was a bit of like an easy, direct line to it. But it was a fun conversation as well, because especially when Gi-hun's really trying to just continue to have balls of steel here and just absolutely give it to this guy. Maybe he was, again, feeling like he was kind of coasting on a streak right now, because he's like, listen, I really told off that recruiter, and I live to tell the tale. So I'm just going to keep going up the chain of command right now.
Well, all they ever say to Gi-hun is, you should have got on the plane. You should have got on the plane.
He didn't get on the plane.
You didn't get on the plane, you know? And so he tells the front man to his face, well, basically, I want to shut this down. I want to shut this down. Put me back in the game, coach. I can do this. I'm going to prove to you that I can shut it down. Your investors are going to love it. They'll love an all-star season. Mike, we do love a returning season. However, do we like it when only one person comes back as a returning? I don't know if that's the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. We talked about this last time. So now that Gi-hun's going to formally be back in the game, how much is going to be different? I imagine that much like a show that you and I adore so much, they're going to be in the same location. Does Gi-hun know, like, last season they were like, I remember this alley. This used to be my house. Gi-hun could literally do that this time around. It's like when Bruce came back for Survivor 45. It was like, we're at the old Tika camp again. I wonder if Gi-hun's going to have the same breakdown.
I mean, he would have a lot more information than
Bruce. Oh, man, is Gi-hun going to be the Bruce of the Squid Game?
No, stop it. Stop it. Like halfway through.
Here's the robot.
Yeah. Halfway through, they get to the bridge and everybody's like, yeah, are we sick of him? Can't we just
push him off?
Yeah. But he does know what's coming, essentially, right? So red light, green light feels like something like there could be a bit of a toss-up of whether or not you survive or not. Like that's a pretty tough game to play, especially when they're shooting at you. But the cookie thing, I think he's good. I think he's like, how have you not been practicing that? If you can't even sleep at night because of what you see, I'm at home like just bored doing the cookie thing every now and then. So there's no way he doesn't come in. He's like, give me the star, give me the umbrella. I can do this with my eyes closed.
Yeah, what do you think is if he had premeditated this, because they'd said even over the radio, like, this is plan B. Do you think he's been practicing some of these games in the, in determinate amount of downtime he's had over the past couple of years?
Well, that's the game that I know you could practice the most, probably, is the cookie, right? Because a lot of those games, to me, felt like chance. As far as like the bridge goes,
yeah, he didn't go to a glass factory or buy one and have someone come in and tell him the difference between tempered glass and regular glass.
Well, they kind of had a glass maker last time who could spot it and turn the lights off. They're like, yeah, F that, and so it's only so much prep he can do, but at least now he knows what he should be looking for. If the games are the same, and honestly, as far as like for television purposes, I don't think they should be the same. But if you're doing this annually and you have one winner who doesn't ever come back, I don't really think anything behooves you to change the games up. You should still be using the same games because they work flawlessly. It's not like okay, we got to bring in the battleship this time. Why would we change it up? So it feels like to me, just at least just knowing what's coming would give you a leg up on the competition.
I mean, either that or they were able to figure out a couple of games in, oh, these are all childhood games. And there's a couple of moments when like they're going through, okay, these are all the possibilities it could be. Just like crack open, right? Kids' first encyclopedia of games and just try to study all the ways that almost like when David Wright made that book of previous survival puzzles to figure out how to do them. Just figure out how could they make the most perverted, demented version of any of these games and then take it one step further. And that's probably what they're doing.
Well, in Squid Game, the challenge, we did get Battleship. That was a thing that happened, and so that could be a thing. Maybe
we got the Are they gonna do like the box at the desk where it's basically like share or steal?
Yeah, and that was fun too. So I think there's a way they can switch this up, and they might not have been incentivized to switch it up in the past, but knowing that you have somebody coming back who specifically is here to ruin everything, I think you got to throw some loopholes at him. See if you can, see if you can throw some curveballs at him and make sure that he's maybe not the most prepared person who ever played the Squid Game. Because I think the initial shock of everybody else playing red light, green light, that eliminates a lot of people. When you come in and just start seeing people die next to you, nerves alone are going to make you kind of screw up. But, I think that now you kind of know, all right, let me hide behind this person. Let me push this person if I need to. I think you're a lot more cutthroat. The question is, does he allow all these other people to die if he can save them?
So that's the thing, is that it seems like Gi-hun has entered this almost out of protest, as odd as that is to say, because he goes back to one of the final scenes that we saw in season 1, which is when there's the big reveal that number 1, the old man, Il-nam, that he was, the boss behind the scenes. He makes this bet quite literally on his deathbed. Hey, there's a homeless man down there dying in the cold. If anyone goes to help him before the stroke of midnight, you win the bet. Otherwise, I win the bet. And Gi-hun, that was kind of like the moment when he basically got his groove back. Like at that point, he had not shaved. He had not cut his hair. He just looked like an absolute shell of himself, gone into full hermit mode. And then he kind of realizes this spark of, okay, there is some good in the world. After I have experienced so much bad, both in watching what people have done to others, some of what I have done to people, some things that have happened to me, this is that one little flame of optimism that can at least keep me from dying of frostbite, much like that man out there. And he's kind of nursed that flame until it's kind of built into something roaring over the past couple of years, right? The reason why he makes this big claim is that he says, you consider this to be just sort of like a permanent constant in society because of just the way things are. That's what the front man says. He says that these are pieces of trash and the games won't stop if the world keeps going this way, that there will always be scourges of society that owe money and will do anything at the chance of getting out of that debt. And Gi-hun is ready to say, in a manner of speaking, I'm going to erase that debt of morality, and I am going to go in there and I am going to, I don't know, will he do what happened last time and force everyone immediately to vote? Will he say, okay, everybody, before we even go in there, just so you know what's about to happen, there's going to be this really tall, creepy doll. It's going to shoot you with a sniper rifle. How can we all just nope out of this right now? Here, I am worth so much won right now.
I will pay you to leave.
I will pay you 1 billion won a piece if you decide right now to leave.
It makes sense. He says he wants to convince the horse owners to put a stop to the race. And it's like, yeah, but the spectators to put a stop to the race. I'm like, what incentivizes them to do it? Even if you come back and you're like, I swear, like, look, listen to me. This is awful. Y'all, people are good people. Those people are still rich. And they're like, all right, cool, you can go, like kill him first. They can rig the game. Why could, I feel like he's putting his life at risk, obviously, to accomplish something. I just don't know how well thought out his plan is once he gets in there. It's like if he completes the Squid Game, he expects everybody to be like the recruiter, to honor this, this unspoken level of just like, no, the rules are the rules.
Right.
If it's Russian roulette and there's one bullet, I'm gonna pull the trigger, even if it's me. Everybody's not going to act like that. Maybe in this Squid Game world, that's how they're going to act. But there's a non-zero chance that somebody's just like, yeah, we don't need him. Let's kill him.
Yeah.
And then what are we doing?
The only thing I could think of, and this is a bit of a spoiler for the Hunger Games, Chappell, which you have not indulged in, but at the end of the first Hunger Games, usually there is a sole survivor from that as well. But the way Katniss Everdeen is able to get away with 2 sole survivors is that she threatens at the end to kill both herself and the other competitor in PETA. She said, like, we're going to take these poisonous berries together and then there will be no winner. And that causes the powers that be to actually stop the game, because maybe there's this idea of like morale, right? This is sort of a communal event for everyone that watches, as depraved as it may be. And so we don't want a bummer ending. Could it be that like Gi-hun smuggled a grenade up his ass or something, and he's like, I'm going to pull the pin and blow up this entire room right now if you don't end the game, and then there's not going to be a winner.
Yeah, or he just throws the grenade at that big ass doll, and they're like, "Well, how are we gonna replace the doll?"
I mean, that's true as well. Yeah, you could literally break the game.
Yeah, because then he's like, "Oh well, I guess we can't do it again." I feel like it takes about a year to prep for the game again. You got to clean up all those bodies. You got to rebuild the glass bridge. So maybe there is a world where something he can actually do inside the game can affect the way they view it. You're right. I guess in the Hunger Games they were like, "Well, we need a winner, or this doesn't work." I don't know if Squid Game necessarily doesn't work if you don't have a winner.
I mean,
maybe that's something they're looking for.
That's the question. I mean, granted, what the weight you leave Squid Game with, I would imagine that a lot of the winners probably do not make it very far outside of the game, just with everything that is weighing on them. But I don't know. I feel like, again, in this weird sort of system of rules that the games have to operate under, that there like has to be one winner, because otherwise, then I think, especially when these big cats who are quite literally wearing cat masks are like betting on people. If nobody wins, then who wins? The house? Does the house win?
We need the money. Yeah, we need to like I ended up my money to win some money. And so if nobody wins, it's like, what am I even doing? And we know at least one of the winners went on to be the front man. I'm not quite sure how In-ho managed to pull that off. It's like to go from like I won and now I'm the head of whatever this is. I'm very confused because now I'm questioning these other winners too before him. The winners that came before In-ho, did they win as well? Like, did they go and become part of like the games? Are they out there like betting now? I got all this wine. I gotta spend it. We don't really know what happens after this for most people. We know that Gi-hun is the only one, it seems, that has gone and made it his mission to avenge all the trauma that he went through.
Right. Unless we find out later on that actually in Gi-hun's Squid Game, there was a previous winner that was trying to come back, and he got killed in red light, green light. Like, look what happened to the previous hero. He just ended up never being seen again and failed at the first game. Can we talk about In-ho for a second? The front man, the front seat, front man. Where's this douche get off? Like, he actually pulls off, Chappell, a Matrix reference. He legitimately accuses Gi-hun of getting red-pilled.
Right. I was like, is that like public domain now? You can just be like, have you ever seen The Matrix? I said, oh, this is real life. Y'all, like, I've been looking at Squid Game as this is a fictional society in a fictional world. Like, this is not going on. He's like, nah, remember Keanu Reeves? And he definitely played it out. Like, you could either, take the red pill here, or you could take the blue pill. And I said, we already did this before. But the red pill is stay and fight, and the blue pill is take the comfort for yourself. You want all this money, you don't have to do this. But it looks like Gi-hun is going to do it anyway. I don't know. In-ho, I guess that's how he looked at it. When he was faced with the same opportunity, he was like, so the blue pill means I can be the front man because I'll take it.
See, that's the thing. I feel like he kind of took a weird cyan pill, or almost a violet pill.
Yeah, like another one. Yeah,
where it's like, okay, but I want to move on with my life, but also be very okay with the atrocities that I've committed. Can I do that? Is there a both?
Right. I kind of enjoyed Squid Game. Like I won. It'd be cool if I got to work on production or something like that. Like, are y'all hiring? He seems like he had a different experience than Gi-hun, because there's no way that if he went through what Gi-hun went through, why would you sign up to do this to other people? You have to be truly cracked in order to do that.
Well, you talk about whether or not we're going to find out about In-ho's background. We do get some in this episode by visiting with his stepmother. So I guess first thing we find out is that I guess Jun-ho dropped the step, keep the brothers. I guess I don't know if they're blood related. I guess the kidney transplant worked, but at least the woman that Jun-ho was talking to was In-ho's stepmother. And so maybe he had kind of felt like the redheaded stepchild, right? There was this story about the fact that, In-ho was doing bad, or Jun-ho was doing badly. And so In-ho had given him a kidney. But then it had left them in a medical state where, like, when In-ho's wife was in a very dire medical state, he wasn't able to help her and she died. I guess I'm just trying to figure out the timeline of, okay, if we're filling in the blanks, is it In-ho entered the game because he needed to afford the extraordinary medical costs
Mm.
to keep his mom alive. And then, irony of all ironies, she died while he was in there, which is what kind of happened to Gi-hun's mom, if you remember, that she had like untreated diabetes, and that was one of the reasons why Gi-hun went back, only for her to die after the fact. Did you have any guesses, Chappell, as to what was going on with In-ho and how this might relate to him going into Squid Game in the first place?
No, because when we saw him, he was talking to his mom and his brother. But I was like, I was like, is he adopted? I thought I knew that she wasn't his biological mom. Because then I started to ask, well, where your daddy at? You know, like if this is your, you know, like because we have to answer all of these questions because any missing piece could be a bigger person. Like the Ildam stuff from last season,
Right.
it was like
Yeah.
the old man. Who is the old man? Is the old man related to Gi-hun? Now I'm like, is the old man related to Jung-jae? You know, like I got questions about all of this. So
it's just it's the family business at the end of the day. What if that turns out to be like, oh, actually, yeah, we've been doing this for a while now. We're the founding fathers of the Squid Game. I mean, it also should be noted, I guess, to what I was talking about earlier as to what got him in the game. I'd forgotten that Jun-ho did mention that In-ho had taken some bribes. I guess, I don't know what his career was before Squid Game, but he had taken some bribes, I think, to help pay for his wife's medical expenses, which may be similar to a lot of people like Song-woo, for instance, like might have gotten him into a very sticky situation and a lot of debt where it's like, okay, I have to repay all of these people, or like almost like what happened with the doctor, right? Where like he had killed a patient and it basically become disbarred. Maybe that like disgraced In-ho, and so to actually make a living, he decided to make a killing.
Actions have consequences, you know, and you know, taking that bribe really put him in a situation where, you know, I guess he was down bad. And it sucks because, you know, we see where he ends up being. You know, he ends up being the head of this just evil corporation, basically, or this system that is killing all these people who are down bad just like he was. So it's kind of like he was able to remove himself from that, but then also not far enough to think, okay, now that I've survived it, I need to break the wheel. He's kind of like, nah, I'll drive the car, you know, and like
I'll have someone else drive the limo. Yeah.
Right. And he's in the front seat. And that was very bold of him as well. You would think the front man doesn't have to do these things in person. Like, why does he have to go meet Gi-hun in person?
I mean, maybe that's, I thought for a second that's why they kept going around the same area, was like keeping the signal network. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, hello, Gi-hun. Have you watched the Atrix?
He's like, wait, you're in the dead zone. You're in the dead zone. We don't get that kind of signal on the island. But
exactly. We're actually purposely not in a good signal zone on the island. You're off on an island, quite literally. Let's talk about some other Gi-hun stuff as well from a personal perspective before we sort of sever that and leave it behind. A couple things that were left in lurch at the end of season 1, Chappell, and one of them is rather sad. Another reason why Gi-hun ends up entering the games is the fact that, again, he has a daughter. Much like Devin Shepard, he would do anything for her, including survive a Squid Game. And last we heard of her, he was on his way to getting on the plane. He was on the phone with her saying, I have a surprise for you for your birthday. The next time I call you, I'll be in America where I'll come see you. And then I guess he never talked to her for the next 2 years?
Yeah. It's how hard would it have been to call and be like, hey, got caught up at work. You know, like, I got you next time.
The boss is really riding me on this one.
Here, I'm about to send you $100,000 just, you know, just to hold you off, okay? Just to show daddy loves you. You know, like, I feel like you could have still been present. You know, maybe not physically if you have this like huge plan that you're trying to do and you're tapped in, but you could call her. You know, I don't know. Maybe he feels like if I'm separated from her, he doesn't have any liabilities or loose ends. You know, we'll see that in TV shows a lot of times where it's like, there's this one thing that I loved. I mean, not to spoil the penguin, but you know, you talked about it. It's like, there's this one thing that I love, and I can't have it around if it's going to be a liability and people are going to use it to keep me from accomplishing my goal. And so if he's trying to be covert, maybe having bi-weekly phone calls with his daughter and sending a bunch of money her way is not going to allow him to do that.
Yeah, but also considering how things went between him and that stepdad last time we saw him, like, maybe he's like, oh, don't go for my daughter, especially not her new dad. Please don't.
I love him so much. Please don't kill him.
Please don't load up all the chambers in Russian roulette this time. No, that'd be merciless.
I would hate for you to send him into the Squid Game.
Yeah. Well, that'd be very fun as well. So yeah, it seems like, unfortunately, I do see your point. I do agree that I think for some of these characters, like, you almost like cutting out your heart helps protect you from the fact that you won't get stabbed in it. And so maybe that's the thing. I mean, also, we should note that also, Lee Jung-jae does end up winning an Emmy for this show.
Ooh.
And I feel like this was to be honest, I think just given the way the character was in the first like 2 episodes, this was the first time that scene where he was on the phone where I was like, okay, yeah, he's very good in this. Because I think just he was more of a plot role up to that point, and we finally do stop down for a hot second to like see the absolute heartbreak he had, where you could tell he almost was like trying to say something, but he could not compel himself to do so for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, and I think one of the major reasons that we haven't really talked about is that he's about to go back into the Squid Game. Would you want to go and form a good relationship with your child just to be like, all right, daddy's got to go to work, probably not coming back? It's a very thin, like I have a fraction of a percent of a chance that I'll be back. So this is our last phone call while I go play red light and green light for my life, for your legacy. It's like, why would you have that phone call with your daughter? And so I think maybe there's other reasons why he's like, now is not the time.
I want to talk about one other thing that happened in kind of like a spare scene, but while Gi-hun is kind of like checking in on his loose ends before he ties up one big one in the Squid Game. And this is him peeping on a connection he ended up making at the end of last season. So I'll set the table a bit here again for those who have not watched since the fall of 2021. So the other 2 people that his final 3 partners, I should say, that Gi-hun was up against, who he beat in the finale, were Sang-woo, who was his childhood friend, who grew into like this big business prodigy, only for him to become disgraced when it found out that he was essentially defrauding his investors. He ends up going back into the games because basically he has a bunch of thugs threatening him, being like, hey, if you don't pay in time, we're going to kill your mom. The mom is the really important thing to Sang-woo. And to Sebyok, who was, we meet her initially as just this very like quiet, sullen pickpocket. It turns out that, we'll talk about this maybe with another character. She is a defector from North Korea, someone who was able to escape alongside her brother, who's currently living in an orphanage, while she helps basically find a home for the 2 of them. Their dad had gotten killed attempting to escape. Their mother is currently in a prison in North Korea. And so Gi-hun basically does this like, almost like in Seinfeld when the A, B, C plots were combined in the final act of the episode of like, you need a son, you need a mom, why don't you get together?
Yeah. Have you ever been to this treatment facility? Because there's a mom there that's waiting for you, So he gets the mom, he gets the little brother's address, and he's just like, hey, work it out, make this a thing. It feels like he is, like you said, tying up loose ends or making amends for, not indirectly being the reason why these people are dead. Like, don't get me wrong.
Well, and also he is fulfilling a promise, because I believe both like Sebyok, since she had been mortally stabbed with a piece of glass, was pretty much like, here's my entire backstory, go help my brother Chol. And then Sang-woo's final words to Gi-hun after he stabbed himself with his own knife were, please take care of my mother. So Gi-hun's like, listen, I gotta do this. These 2 are haunting me in my dreams. It's the least I could do.
Yeah, you go fill that hole. They're both missing. They're both missing something. Put the puzzle piece together.
A lot of blood is mainly what they're missing.
Oh yeah, and some relatives. But go put the puzzle piece together and say, all right, cool. It might not fit perfectly, but at least you have each other, because he's got to go. Like, he has to do this right now, because again, winning the Squid Game is not promised. This is the luckiest man on earth. I will stand by that. Okay, he went through some awful things that I wouldn't wish on anybody, but he survived all of it and came out richer on the other side. And he's about to roll the dice again, and maybe literally dice, because we don't know what the games are going to be.
Yeah.
And so, this is the time to tie up all this other stuff, so that by the end of the season, we're not like, whatever happened to Sebyok's mom. He never quite did that. Like, they made sure to leave all that season 1 stuff behind.
Yeah, did you like how they Bobby Draper Chol, that all of a sudden he is now this like tall drink of water after he was this little cute kid only 2 years ago?
Hey, listen, those growth spurts are real. He's like, oh man. He's like,
apparently, I don't know. I don't know if Gi-hun was like, here's your milk, drink some HGH protein for the next 2 years, really shoot up there.
Yeah, no, he's grown. He's grown now. He's like, nah, look, he's like, I'm 13 and a half. Like, sure, guys. Sure, mister.
I'm going in the Squid Games now. I'm 14 years old and I have a full beard.
Yeah, it's time. It's time. It's like, I don't think that's how this works,
I
but
mean, we should also mention, yeah, another season 1 reference is that Gi-hun is kind of picking up where Sae-byeok left off, that this was kind of like the seedy broker that was like, I'm trying to help your mom, I really am, but if I could just get a little more payola, and like, turns out maybe supporting Gi-hun's point, he has a little bit of a heart as well. It seems like he's kind of like doing all this pro bono of like, yeah, I feel bad about the way that things were left. I guess this does also provide a question, Chappell, that I have for a lot of these people that Gi-hun interacts with. Did Gi-hun go to this broker and like tell him exactly what happened to Sae-byeok? Or is he like, she's out of the picture now, I'm taking over?
it feels like you got to do that. Like, I think when his thing is that his superpower is his luck and that he's rich. He's got a lot of money. Okay, this man's got a lot of money. He's basically Batman. So it's like where questions won't really, like, answering questions won't really help. He doesn't really have to. He's like, yeah, I got 1, 2, 3, 400,000, 500,000. How much do you need to stop asking me? And the people are like, all right, just take it. I think a lot of people don't take bribes. But I think there's a threshold, right? I think there's a plateau where it's like, all right, for that amount of money, I'm sorry, I can look the other way.
Yeah. Well, let's move Chappell from something old to something new here. And look,
Something
I
old.
think, yeah, it's something Noel. So I think we were all, and just in time for the holiday season, we have passed by Noel, but we're still getting Noel Chappell even a couple days later. Under only 363 63 days until the next Noel. So we made a new character here, and this to me, again, it was sort of an inevitability that whether due to promotional material or just like knowing the plot of this, even assumed we think that Gi-hun would be going back. The much bigger surprise comes with this new character, who, I talked about this last time about as we're going to get to meet the other competitors in Squid Game Season 2, how much are they going to be mapped onto Season 1? Of, okay, this is the new thug. This is the new crafty woman playing all sides. And so when you see, like, okay, very dark, sullen woman who has a soft spot in her heart for kids, who also defected from North Korea, you think, like, okay, this must be another Sae-byeok. Like, of course, she's going to make her way into the game. But no, Chappell, she has been hired as we see her hop on that great big convoy and seemingly don a mask for the first time. Is that what we're assuming with her picking up the phone? That was her like outright applying to the job? Or was this more so kind of a seasonal thing, right? Like working at Halloween horrors at a theme park?
That's a good question, because you would think you don't replace your staff, right? Because they know the secrets. They know everything that they need to know. And don't get me wrong, they probably don't know a lot, but they definitely know people are getting murdered. They do a good job of like, we put them in these box trucks, we ship them off. They probably don't know where the island is specifically, but they are there. They're shooting people sometimes. They're there killing people. And so you kind of want to use the same group of goons that you have to make this stuff happen. So I have to assume this isn't her first time, but I mean, look, that's a hell of a part-time job. He's like, every year or so I go for the summer and I go murder people, and then I come back and I wear a bunny costume, at a carnival.
Which I think honestly the bunny costume might be scarier. I don't know. Maybe it's like the Five Nights at Freddy's of me now, of just looking into the dead eyes of those costumes and just not only thinking about the sweaty people in there, but just thinking about the abyss that exists behind those eyes.
Yeah, and she shows up in that box or whatever for her new job or her part-time job, whatever we're considering this, as one of those red jumpsuit people. And to me, there's no orientation for this. She walks in, she goes to her little box, she puts on her mask, and that's it. It's a wrap. She's at work. She's clocked in. So I have to believe that she's done this before, or I don't know if the onboarding is just kind of seamless, where it's like, okay, we told you the one thing you need to know is you put that mask on and you'll figure the rest out. They all seem very uniform, literally and figuratively, when it comes to the way they presented the games in the first time. Like, there was not a person out of line. Like,
right.
So
and that's why Jun-ho stuck out so much, because he's like, and what are we doing now? And they're like, you don't know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. If we are just now seeing her get hired, I need to see her get trained as well. Like, I think that the show doesn't have a lot of episodes to deal with, but if they could do a cutaway scene of maybe her standing in line with the new grunts and somebody walking out, all right, you maggots, here's what we do.
Yes,
that's,
we need
I want
a
to
drill
see something
sergeant.
like that.
Yeah,
we do.
It's really interesting because, I mean, also looking at the character herself, she is just so hard to read. And it's really fun watching this episode again through the lens of knowing what's coming and like, okay, we know the type of person that can exist to put themselves in the Squid Game in the first place. They are desperate. They have a tragic backstory usually that's put them in a butt ton of debt to the point where they feel like they have to do this to find a new life for themselves. But who do you have to be to sign up for this job? I mean, we found out to a certain extent with the recruiter last time. And it's really interesting as well, thinking in retrospect about how much of a gateway that sort of monologue he gave was of, okay, I guess we really are looking at the production side of things and Unreal style, what ends up going on behind the scenes here. But even looking at her as a character who hides behind a bunch of masks, right? Because again, if we're considering this a seasonal thing, half the time she is just wearing a mask with a triangle on it and is purposely not supposed to stand out. And on the other side of things, or in the other months of the year during her off time, she's wearing a costume where she's not supposed to take her mask off in front of people to break the illusion. And maybe that speaks to who she is. I mean, maybe there is a sort of like anonymity she wants to maintain because, as it turns out, she has had a very eventful, it seems, fleeing from North Korea. From what at least I was able to put together from like the picture we saw in the car for the first time and when she talks with this broker, I think what the story was that she was married to a North Korean officer and had a baby. And then the broker says like, oh, this woman who shot an officer and escaped, defected to South Korea. Occam's razor would have me dictate that she maybe shot her husband, which would be super tragic, and then left her baby behind. And so she wants her baby back, ribs and all. And that's kind of what she is working towards. Though, again, we also had the nice swerve Chappell with like, but she's got a soft spot in that heart for kids. She can't help it.
She loves a kid. She loves a baby, and maybe that soft spot is what she, is tied to what she left behind, right? Like I have a soft spot for kids because I too have a child, right? But I had to leave my child behind for whatever reason. But she's definitely hard to figure out because now I'm even questioning, is this job optional? Is she allowed to go back to work full time? Because the people we've seen prior to this were so down on their luck where being in the Squid Game was enough for them to just throw it all away. Like, F it, I'll try anything to get out of this hole. She got a full-time job, It's like, and if this is not the first time that she's been in this role, did they not pay her the first time? Like, how is that not like, what is the hourly rate to be in one of these red jumpsuits? Because you would think, I only got to do that for one summer and then I can go and have a real career. You got to keep going back. They're not paying you enough.
Well, that's the thing, though, Chappell, is that there is a hierarchy that exists within this structure, and it all comes down to the shape on the mask. So it should be noted that Noel was a triangle, and I believe the triangles are known as the soldiers. There are the circles, which are the workers, which are sort of like doing the kind of rank and file stuff behind the scenes. The soldiers are the ones that are, carting off the bodies, kind of doing like the dirty, nasty work, getting their heads wet. But what you really want to do is you want to be that square mask. You want to be that manager. And so maybe it's just that incentive. You're going nowhere if you're one of these costume nobodies. You're going down a parade route, but career-wise, you're going nowhere. But here, there's upward movement, baby. You can change. You can gain another side of yourself and go from 3 sides to 4 and become that square. And then from there, the benefits really kick in.
It's like, yeah, you're sitting on the couch, waiting on your new job to come in. You can't go to school, but here we have a job right here that you can work your way up through upper mobility. Just come try it out. You come in every summer. You don't have to work all the time. We just work for a few days a year. And then by, 3 years into, it's like an internship. You move up from triangle, you move on to the next round, and then eventually you end up a manager. Mike, which one of these shapes would you be wearing if you were in this role?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like in a certain regard, I have some like square-like tendencies to me. And that's not just because I am incredibly uncool. But I think, I'll be able to sort of dole out the orders as to like, all right, you talk about this, but I also have a little bit of triangle in me as well. So maybe like a square with like extra pointy corners to really show that there's still a little bit of triangle, because I'm not afraid to do the work. I'll come up with games on a weekly basis. I'll watch inimitable amounts of shows and talk about them ad nauseum. So I feel like I wouldn't truly, I've got that triangle in me, Chappell, and he's not leaving anytime soon.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the squares or the no, I'm not. I lied. I'm a triangle. Listen, I'm a soldier. I'm one of the people you point and click. You say, "Hey, Chappell, go do this." I'm like, "All right, boss, gotcha." And how many hours do I have to do this a day? What, 6, 7 hours? I'll stretch this one task out for this long So I have to shoot a person every now and then. I'm in the Squid Game anyway. I'm doing this. So I signed up. The moment I put this red jumpsuit on, I was going to be complicit in somebody's death. But making me make the decisions, like, all right, you're the manager. Tell these people where to go. Hey, like, hey, bro, pick somebody else. It's not really my strong suit. I
Right.
couldn't do the admin stuff either. Like, hey, make sure we have enough cookies for everybody. I'm like, we're kind of short on cookies, boss.
I had a rough night.
Yeah,
It's a little bit of the strain that's outside there in the jungle, and I don't know what happened to those cookies.
Right. I'm definitely one of the people who's like, Chappell, you were supposed to have 400 cookies. I'm like, I'm sorry. Why didn't kill more people? Why do we need 400 cookies? What are you talking about?
You're passed out in your quarters with the horse mask on. Like, Chappell o'clock is happening no matter where you are on the island.
I'm gonna have a good time, okay? Look, I'm sorry. Look, I'm not living to work, okay? But I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna do my job. Make me one of the soldiers. Tell me to just corral the people. I can walk in a straight line. I can do these things. So I don't know. It seemed like for her, she's only a soldier. So I mean, if this is her second or third time being in this role, really, you don't have no type of ambition to move up. This is all you're gonna do.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, maybe she'll make some friends, especially if this is her first time. Maybe she'll try to make a connection, because otherwise, I mean, talk about separating work from life. Like, these people barely acknowledge each other. I mean, Jun-ho did have someone looking out for him last time, and he was really shirking on the job. But like, I don't know if necessarily there's going to be like, oh yeah, Newell, you're class of 2023, right? I remember you. Like, we got to stick together.
You're in my orientation class, remember? It's like, yeah. It's like, no, they don't actually talk. It seems like she goes to her little quarters, and then that's it. We didn't see them interact with anybody else. So I have a lot more questions about her role in this than I do about anything else in the game, because in season 1, they gave us very little information about the red jumpsuits. Right? What do they do? How do they get here? We kind of get to watch them as they do their job, but we don't really know a lot about them. And so I'm assuming they're giving us this character because we have to latch on to somebody else aside from Gi-hun just in general, so they can tell other stories. So some of the deaths feel a lot more earned when they actually start killing people. Do you think this character is going to make it far in this season? Like, how long are we going to be with her?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, this is a good game that we should play. I think when we introduce a character that we feel is going to have some sort of impact in the season, either as a player or behind the scenes, we can throw out sort of like an over-under of how many episodes we think that they're going to make it. I'm going to give her... So we have 5 episodes left of season 2. So it's got to be between 1 and 5. I'm going to give her 5. I think there's a chance she might be endgame material, Chappell.
Okay.
I don't know how this season ends, but the fact that season 3 is going to be airing right after indicates to me that 2 and 3 were pretty much conceptualized together, right? This is like a bit of Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi stuff. And so I imagine that season 2 will end on a bit of more of a cliffhangery note than obviously season 1 did. And so I don't know if they're going to burn through their fuel supply maybe as fast as they did in season 1, especially now that they know they have an end goal in sight. And so I think a character like Noel, who's going to be, besides Inho, like one of the rare people who's able to help pull back the curtain on what's going on with everything behind the scenes of the games, I think they're going to want to keep her around. And especially due to the fact that she is pretty unreadable, they can also slow feed a bit more exposition as well.
That's such a good point. And I hadn't really thought about the idea that this season could end without us knowing if he finishes the Squid Game or not. We watched the last season of Squid Game, and it's kind of like, we had to know, right? We were here for the game. So we needed to know if he was going to finish everything, because we didn't even know there was going to be a season 2. Obviously, within seconds after it aired, they were like, it's a season 2, because everybody was in on it. There was so much money to be made. But you're right. You got 2 seasons coming in close succession. You could definitely get us to like the bridge and be like, all right, that's it. And so we never know. Or maybe he's at Marbles and it's him versus the woman with the pregnant woman, or the woman who was, maybe something like that. So she might make it through the entire season. We don't know. Maybe she's the bridge to the 3rd season.
Oh yeah, quite literally. Yeah. What about you, Chappell? What do you want to wager here? How many marbles do you want to wager between 1 and 5 marbles?
Yeah, it's like, and I don't want to match you on that one, but now I kind of think I could see, us getting a character that we can follow into the new era of sorts. But just for fun, I'll go with 4. I'll go with, she doesn't make the finale, but she makes sure he could get there.
All right. So yeah, lots to do in this second episode. We have already made our transition. And yeah, we're only going to have 5 episodes in the Squid Game this time around, but I'm sure they're going to pack them full of plenty of delightful misery to be beheld as, Gi-hun, right on cue, was knocked out. And I think the next time we're going to see him, he will see himself in that familiar green and white jumpsuit. Maybe we'll follow Noel as well and see how exactly she's going to get accustomed to her new digs or her familiar digs. Again, hopefully we'll find out more about her. And we'll get to meet, I think, Chappell, some more of these people that will be vying alongside Gi-hun, hopeful repeat win. They want to be the first-time winners there. So I'm excited. It feels like after a couple of episodes where we're kind of trying to set the scene and then make the formal transition and leap, we're back in, baby, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, it has been like a slow burn to this point, right? Episode 1, I think, was just catching you up, saying like, remember season 1? Here's kind of where things left off. We get a couple time jumps to just kind of show the sheer amount of time he spent trying to get back to the Squid Game. But this is the last episode where he is going to be on the outside. We will be on the inside, and if it's anything like last time, we're jumping right into the games. He's going to be in his jumpsuit. They're going to drop the money in, and then they're going to say, all right, mission number 1. And you think it's red light, green light? We're going straight back to the old?
No, see, I think it's all going to be brand new. I think that, now, granted, to your point, I don't know if they reset things specifically for Gi-hun, but I wonder if they do the same games every year. Because even I'm assuming the VIPs come back each and every year. I remember specifically when Inho revealed the glass bridge, like they were saying, oh, so that was clearly something new. Now, maybe it's half and half. Maybe they're like, all right, we'll throw in some tried and true familiar stuff that classic fans of Squid Game love, but like, here's a couple of new things to really spice things up. I imagine we're going to get a similar starting game that will kind of cull the metaphoric cattle of these 456 players, but it might be a bit of a different flavor.
Right, you got to weed them out, and I think there's so many people that you gotta cut this crew down to. So it's like the red light, green light's a really easy way of doing that. Even if they were just going to rearrange the games, you can't start with the tug of war, right? So
yeah,
I would love to see some different games, but it also does, to me, it doesn't really feel true to Squid Game if we don't get red light, green light. It's like it kind of like that was one of just like the flagship games. I mean, that I think the cookie as well, the bridge, those were all iconic moments, but that Squid Game big doll lady shooting the Sarah Beth doll, her shooting all the people, it really did set the tone. And so yeah, I'm very excited to know what is next, and if they go back to their old stuff, this will be great. It's like bringing back Hall Brawl again. It's like it's a fan favorite. We don't have to have it every season, but it just doesn't feel like the challenge if you don't have Hall Brawl.
Well, we will be back, whether or not those specific games will be. Chappell and I shall be filling in here into the presumptive Hall Brawl as we take on episode 3 of Squid Game Season 2. Make sure you don't miss a beat of this. We know scriptedtv.com. Make sure you subscribe to the Nothing But Netflix feed as well, where these are also being posted daily. Chappell, we won't do the plugs on a daily basis just because people have seen and heard enough of us. But any specifically special stuff you want to plug as we begin and end the plug section here for Squid Game?
No, just make sure you check out recapkickback.com. That's my place where all my podcasting is done. It's my own little network of sorts. And I got my own social media platform at Recap Kickback too. Check us out. It's where I'll post all the links to all the stuff I'm talking about. You don't need my plugs. Just if you're following me there, you'll hear about it.
Exactly. Same for me at a Mike Bloom type. That we're really trying to be the squares here, doing the social media networks or the triangles, trying to send out all the various things that Chappell and I are doing. And we hope you engage, pick up that phone and dial that metaphoric number. And don't touch that dial, as tomorrow we'll be back with Squid Game Season 2, Episode 3, and see exactly what the titular Squid Game looks like for Season 2. Until next time, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.